Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video here, mainly because I've been getting a lot of questions on my server as to why we need defenses and how do we set it up. The reason being our server is very welcoming with new players. We also like to be really helpful. So as opposed to going to people individually and explaining to them in person as to how to do it, I thought I would both save myself some time and be able to give a more clear visual explanation of how it works. This would apply as well to PS4, Xbox, whatever you're playing on. This is for PVE. I wouldn't think this would be that effective in PvP, so don't bother with it if you're playing on PvP, especially official. Definitely not the best tactic to have. Now, what we're talking about today is base defenses. Some people think because it's PvE you don't need them. You definitely do. There's 3 reasons why I use them and 2 reasons why you need them, period. First and foremost is the way that arc walls work and the landscape. So if you have a little hill behind your base, let's say, and even that little one right up that you see off in the center right there, if a Diplo or a Bronto were to hit something like a raptor as it was jumping or running, it could fly over those walls and land right in the center of my base. And in a lot of places on the map, there's even bigger cliffs. So you could go place spike walls all over the place, but even with that, dinos do get through them or over them. The arc mechanic with walls is not as reliable as a real stone wall that looks like this would be. Dinos the odd time will get through them and maybe even leave a door open. So AI dinos getting in is one main reason. Reason number 2, which is a much more dangerous threat, is what you might call a troll or a mischievous person. Now we have rules on my server that's an auto ban if you're caught luring, or as they say, kiting dinos into someone's base. However, it doesn't, we can't possibly spectate every player at all times. I in fact don't enjoy spectating at all for privacy reasons, and as well it's just very boring. It's not my thing. I'm a little too busy. If I hear about something, and it has happened where someone reported they were sure they were being kited, I know my players pretty well. I have a list of players that I'm not sure about and will monitor that. And we did in fact catch someone once, but the damage was already done because the base defenses weren't there. So you could get someone who takes an Argent and drops a Raptor right in here. Now with these flowers, that Raptor won't last long. That troll would have to then go get another Raptor and so on and so forth. And for one guy to do it, there's just no way. The Raptors wouldn't survive. My personal reason and third reason is I do like my dinos in the exact same place every time I log out and log in. So they are all set to passive. They don't react to anything biting them. So even something small like a little burglar bird, as I call them, that'll fly in here and just chew on them for fun, will do some serious damage. So as a result, I have my flower turrets. Now if these dinos were set to something like attack my target, and the flower turret starts attacking something, they will react to that, and that could be a little bit of an issue. They may end up outside the walls. What some people do, and I used to do, to resolve that problem, this here Ankylo has a lot of health. He's a bit of a tank. If I wanted, I could set him on passive, sit on a saddle, and call over some Carnos, an Aloe or a Rex to follow it. What'll happen if you're sitting on a dino and you whistle follow, the other dinos actually follow the dino you're sitting on. So after the Rex goes and wrecks something, it will come back to this Ankylo. So that's one thing people do. It's not the way I do it, but it's not a bad idea. The reason I don't do it is that I have a small area here, but if I didn't and there was trees and there was a lot of other obstructions, or it went after something in the water, a lot of times I've logged in and it's caught behind something, stuck behind trees, and therefore completely ineffective anyway. Or it could get outside the walls chasing something. And then it's out there in the world of Ark, where it's pretty dangerous. Now I'm in a real safe place, but obviously the best spots on the map aren't safe as far as resources and whatnot go. So my third reason then again is that I keep my dinos on passive, so they need another means of defense. I also like them parked outside. Of course, PvP again, bad idea. So you got your trolls, you got your arc walls, and you got your passive dinos wanting to stay in place. Now, that means that we do need some defenses, whether you're on a PvE or PvP server, regardless of the rules, regardless of how active the admin is, regardless of who's going to get banned and what's going to get replaced for free. It's a great idea, almost a necessity, I would say a necessity, to have some type of defenses up. So first step, where do we get our plant X seeds? There are quite a few ways. It varies from map to map. They are in fact pretty easy or easier to get on many other maps. But here on the island you got a few choices. The fairly difficult way, if you happen to be flying around in the jungle or the redwoods, once in a while you're going to see a slightly different version of this. It looks like one of these flowers almost, but unbloomed and quite big like the base. You'll see it right away because it sticks out. You can grab that by hand and go ahead and pick that up. If not, you can take your trike or whatever dino you use to farm berries, bring it into the swamp area. Around the water on Hidden Lake is a great spot. And when you farm with that dino, you'll pick up the plant X. You will not pick them up by hand. You need to be on that dino. And this, of course, applies to PS4, Xbox, PC, whatever you're playing on. Doesn't matter. PVE, defenses, necessary. So once we have our plant X seeds, what do? Well, they only grow in large farm plots as far as I know, unless something's changed since back when I was playing on the officials. So you do need to have the large plot unlocked. You need to be able to make fertilizer, and you need to have some water. Now, in my case, what you can do, which I don't, is you can get a water jar, fill it up with water, put it in the plot, and the same way you would feed narcos to a dino, you can put the water into the plot. So you would slide it over into the inventory, move your mouse cursor over it. If you're a PC player, you'd press E while the mouse cursor's over, and that would take the water from the jar and put it into the plot. I'm not going to do that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of extra work for nothing. Instead, I simply place my plot first. I'll go do a bunch of other things, and after I notice it rained once, I'll come over and it'll be full of water. You do not need irrigation as long as they're outside. I'm not even sure how they grow under a roof. I haven't placed these inside before. I don't think it works. But if they're outside, you don't need a big, vast irrigation system for this, unless you're on a map where it doesn't rain. So the island, center, Ragnarok, volcano, those kind of maps are good to go. Scorched Earth is a different story, of course, and Aberration as well. You'll have to get some kind of irrigation system, I believe, into there. But we're here on the island where it rains at least once a day. In fact, the rain and fog is so much it gets on people's nerves. They've asked me to shut it down, but we can't do that. We like the game nice and hard. So once they're filled with water, we just roll up to it. We would access inventory, and we would place, let's see, we have to actually get to the box, not the flower for that. There we go. And we'd place some fertilizer in here, as well as one seed. It only takes one anyways, and that'll go ahead and grow. Now, a question people ask me is, as it shoots more, does it run out of fertilizer? No. Fertilizer is time-based, so there's unlimited rounds as long as there's fertilizer inside. Once it runs out of fertilizer, I believe it just dries up and dies, so you want to make sure you have some in there. If you're curious about the timing of fertilizer, check out the garden video. I actually explain in detail how long it lasts per piece, so you can take a look at that. So once that's done, we've got our fertilizer in there, we've got water in there because of the rain, and we also have our seed. You'll see it pop a little baby. It's very small, probably 75% smaller than the full-grown one. The next stage we'll move into, it's like mid-growth stage or middling. So seedling, then middling. In middling, it looks like you can use it or to be effective. It won't be. It won't be effective until it's actually at this stage that we're looking at now, which I believe is called seed or fruitling. Okay, same as the garden. So from this point, we have to set the settings on it. And by default, they're set to shoot at everything. In our case, and on any PVE server, you might as well just go ahead and set that to only wild creatures. And then in my case, this is specific to me, I have them on medium. The reason being is I've got them on both sides, and medium range will most likely hit the center there. I haven't tested it. If you want to, grab a dodo and drop it in. It will not survive long, that's for sure, with all these flower turrets. So that's all set up. This is all ready to fire. If you have S+, I could take the turret setter or whatnot. It's a little gun. You can almost see it in the first slot there, as I had it in there before. Turret configure gun or whatnot, I think it costs a thatch, very similar to demo gun. You have your setup the way you want it. You right click, that'll copy the settings, and then you can left click to all the other flowers and they'll be set the same way. I've put mine on pillars. The reason being is if they're on the ground, the dino that it's attacking has easy access to destroy it. As well, it kind of keeps them out of the way. I can still travel underneath there and move around quite a bit. Another thing I've done, and this is specific to my case, I don't want these flowers shooting at everything outside. For one thing, it's going to attract, like if a fairy, and there was a fairy earlier today walking around here, you see that dodo's walking safely over there. If a fairy came by and those flowers start shooting at it, that's going to attract the fairy to the flower, attract the fairy to my base. And if it happened to be like right here because it was chasing something that went out to the water, it might get inside. So I'm kind of creating a situation I've been trying to avoid. So I have put these a little bit lower than my gates. I believe that's 2 pillars high. And as a result, they don't shoot outside the gates. And my main goal is to keep what's inside the gates safe and to shoot anything that's dropped in. So that accomplishes that. Of course, you set them how you want. The other thing is if you've got a taming pen that's permanent setup, mine's on my raft, so it's not really an issue. But if I fly over here with like a cat or a wolf in my Argent that I want to tame, these flower turrets are going to shoot at that Argent or are going to shoot at that cat. So you're going to want to make sure that when you're bringing in something to tame, that you're not crossing the shooting line or the field of fire for these turrets, right? Because it's going to wreck that. So that basically takes care of my basic defenses here in my base. Very easily done. When I placed them, I think I was live either on Twitch or YouTube, but when I placed them I did have to, like I'm flying now for demonstration purposes, but I did have to put a ladder there. I did have to climb up in order to be able to get the fertilizer and everything in. I just removed the ladder after because I like the looks better. And but otherwise, yeah, it just works great. Some people use sloped roofs. I do on our districts. You could put 2-3 sloped roofs right on this ceiling here, and you would have even more flowers. They will attach and they will function correctly even when they're sloped. Now, as you get in a little bit to the later game, and these happen to be S plus turrets, they shoot 4 bullets at a time, so they're very expensive. This one has like 184 rounds in it, and this one has 80, I think. And I don't have the type of materials now because I'm running caves to really keep these things full. But this is a great addition. What happens with the flower turrets, they do a little bit of damage, so when there's a bunch of them it's pretty significant, but they also slow the target down to almost a crawl, and these turrets really get the chance to line up and waste it. So although my base isn't perfectly defended, this certainly is significant enough to slow down a troll. Now, we're very active admins on my server. We get to know our players really well. We generally get a good feeling when someone's misbehaving or not. Then we start watching them more. We start being more aware. So the one guy I'm more worried about is someone who kind of has recently joined and is staying quiet and is just here to start trouble. Well, when he flies around, like in anything, the more expensive it is and the harder it is, they may attack someone who's a little bit weaker or not as powerful. So just by having this here, I've discouraged that person a little bit. Now, what'll happen if they fly by your base and you don't have any defenses? Well, I think I know who I'm going to choose to mess with, right? And there's something else too. This is a bit more philosophical, but let's say you're the type of guy that wants to go sneak up on people while they're waiting at the supply drop and they've been waiting there for a while and you decide to take it. Now, there's no rule against that on my server, but you might make enemies, and that's another reason to make sure you have defense. If you're a smart talker, you like to mess with people a little bit, you better be ready to make sure that someone's not kiting something in there or doing something else. 2 wrongs don't make a right, but that doesn't mean, every time's going to be working that way. There's also, and this is a bit more unique, but there's people that just don't like friendly, nice people for whatever reason. So if you're really friendly, really nice, and it's happened right here on this server, sometimes people want to come mess with you and jerk you around. Well, you might need defenses because you're really nice and friendly. Don't think, well, I'm nice with everybody. I do trades and I help people out. That almost in some cases can make you more of a target. And finally, let's say your base is expanding a bit bigger than the person next to you thought. They're getting a little uptight about it. You get the point. Without defenses, you're not as free to behave the way you want to behave. Now, beyond that, these 2 dinos, specifically Katana here, and there's a cat. We'll take a look. They're not mine, they're my girlfriend's. So I put these inside because I don't want to explain to her what happened to them. And that applies to, say you've got your top-end breeding dinos, or you've got some other dinos that you really want to keep safe. Well, then go beyond the flowers and put them inside. Most of my buildings always have a gate where I can at least get the smaller dinos into, and that's pretty important. I know there's some players that, they build giant, huge cement bases. so that they're able to keep more and more dinos inside. That's just not my style. I don't enjoy building the big boxes. I find they look like crap. But I do understand that some players are very paranoid, so they build these huge bases and put their dinos inside. That's just an extra step to keeping your stuff safe. I don't feel it's necessary on our servers, but of course you're welcome to do it. And outside of that though, I mean, with these steps that you take, there's not a lot of chance that you're going to have any troubles. And when you log off, you can be a little bit more confident that things are going to be safe for you. I don't know what else to add to this. I mean, as you see, I keep everything outside. That's just the way I'm living. And without these turrets and without these flowers, I would be pretty paranoid. If someone drops in something violent enough to break any of these boxes or smithies, my goods are going to drop on the floor and be available to anybody to take. And some of those goods are pretty important. Now, of course, good luck with a raptor wrecking my metal vaults and so on and so forth. But, I mean, let's say I'm working at my smithy, my back is turned, and someone drops a couple raptors in here and I take a beating and I'm dead. I got to respawn, you know. Maybe something goes wrong and I disconnect. Either way, I know when I'm within this little sector that I'm going to be safe. So that's my new harbor. I will put some flower turrets right dead center of it at some point. I won't put them along the edge just because I don't feel like shooting at everything flowing by. Outside of that, I don't know what else I can add. If you want to join these servers, you're more than welcome to. They're open to the public. There's all kinds of listings to join right there if you do show more on the info. And in addition, of course, and I know you've all heard it a million times, but my buddy said you better say it. Make sure if you did enjoy it, you like, subscribe, you follow, and you click on those notifications so whenever I put up a new video or go live, you'll get to see that. A lot of my live videos are pretty fun. We do a lot of caves, we do a lot of bosses. We're doing a playthrough here. We got a 4-map cluster, top of the line. So if you enjoy 24-hour a day, 7 days a week, lag-free play, you know where to go. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And it was nice chatting with you once again.